Before you said a single word to her, she had already decided something about you, not consciously, not deliberately, but in the first few seconds of your presence in her space, the way you walked in, the way your body occupied the room, the quality of your attention, the frequency of your energy. Her nervous system had already begun its assessment. And here is the part most men never hear. What she assessed in those first moments had almost nothing to do with how you look, what you're wearing, or how impressive your circumstances are. It had everything to do with something beneath all of that, something that cannot be rehearsed, cannot be purchased, and cannot be performed for long before the performance starts to show its edges. It had to do with whether you are home within yourself. That phrase, home within yourself, is the entire psychology of male attraction distilled into 4 words. A man who is genuinely at home within himself carries a frequency that is fundamentally different from a man who is performing, managing, seeking, or proving. And women, especially emotionally intelligent women, feel that difference before they can articulate it. In this video, I'm going to break down the precise psychological mechanisms that make a man genuinely, deeply, durably attractive to women. Not tips, not tactics, the actual internal architecture that creates the kind of presence that pulls on female psychology at its deepest level. There are 8 principles. Each one builds on the last. And by the time we reach the 8th, which is the one almost no one is talking about, you will have a complete picture of what attraction actually is at its source and what it requires of you. Stay through all 8. This is not a shortcut, it is a map. I'm Lyra. This is Mystique Psychology. If you're new here, subscribe to Mystique Psychology right now. Every week, I break down the real psychology of attraction, female behavior, and what actually moves women, not the surface version, the actual mechanics. Subscribe, turn on the bell, and let's begin. Before the 8 principles, I want to deconstruct something, because if the foundation is wrong, everything built on it is also wrong. Most of what men are taught about attraction operates on a transaction model. Do this, get that. Present these qualities, receive this response, wear this, say this, achieve this, and she will want you. That model produces performers, and performers are detectable. The performance works briefly, in first impressions, in curated moments, in the early stages where distance allows the image to hold. But in any sustained proximity, in any real relationship, the performance becomes visible, and what was attractive in the image becomes hollow in the reality. Female attraction, particularly in women who are emotionally intelligent, who have lived enough life to know the difference, is not triggered by the performance. It is triggered by what the performance is trying to simulate. The real thing. And the real thing cannot be manufactured. It can only be built. What you are building, across all 8 principles, is not an attractive version of yourself. You are building the most realized, most genuine, most internally coherent version of yourself. And the attraction that follows from that is not a goal you are pursuing. It is a byproduct of who you have become. That distinction is everything. Keep it in your mind as we go through each principle. Principle 1, and this is the one that all other principles rest on. Stop organizing your internal world around external validation. I want to say that plainly because the polished version of this principle often loses the sharpness of what it's actually asking. It's not asking you to stop caring what people think. Caring is human and appropriate in the right proportions. It is asking you to stop needing her approval as the condition for feeling okay about yourself. This need, this specific, quiet, pervasive need, is the single most detectable thing in male behavior. Women feel it immediately, not as a conscious thought, but as a sensation. When a man is in the presence of a woman he wants to impress, and his sense of his own okayness in that moment is contingent on whether she is responding favorably. She feels it. It changes the quality of his attention. It makes every interaction slightly effortful. Every word carries a small weight of, is this working? Am I landing? And that weight, that invisible effortfulness, is the opposite of attractive. Compare it to this. A man who has developed a genuine, grounded sense of his own value, not arrogance, not performance of confidence, but a real, inhabited knowledge of who he is and what he brings, that man's presence is qualitatively different. His attention is free. He can give it fully because he is not simultaneously monitoring the feedback loop. He is just there. And being just there, genuinely, completely present without agenda, is one of the rarest and most magnetic qualities a person can have. The practical work here is not affirmations or confidence exercises. It is the slow, genuine work of building a life that gives you real reasons to know your own value, a body you respect, work that has meaning, skills you've developed, friendships that are real, a relationship with yourself that is honest. When those things exist, you do not need her to tell you that you're enough. You already know. And that knowledge, that specific, unperformed, internally sourced knowledge, is felt by every woman who spends meaningful time in your presence. Principle 2, and I want to be precise here because the common misreading of this principle costs men more than they realize. Emotional regulation does not mean being emotionally flat. It does not mean suppressing your feelings, performing stoicism, or communicating to a woman that nothing affects you. That is not strength. That is a different kind of performance, and it creates a very specific kind of distance that prevents genuine connection from forming. What emotional regulation means is this: you are the master of your internal house. You have feelings, full, genuine human feelings, and you have developed the capacity to sit with them without being controlled by them, to feel anger without becoming your anger, to feel fear without making fear the governor of your decisions, to feel the pull of attraction without letting it collapse your sense of yourself. Women are exquisitely sensitive to the difference between a man who is regulated and a man who is suppressed. A regulated man can talk about difficult things without becoming defensive. He can be challenged without becoming destabilized. He can receive feedback without going to war with it. He can be vulnerable without needing the vulnerability to be immediately resolved by her reassurance. That specific quality, the ability to be emotionally present and emotionally stable simultaneously, is what women mean when they describe a man who makes them feel safe, not physically safe, emotionally safe, the sense that his internal world is not going to become her responsibility to manage, that she can be honest with him without triggering a reaction that she then has to navigate, that the relationship is a space in which she can exist fully without walking on eggshells around his emotional fragility. Build this through practice. Notice what destabilizes you and work with that, not around it. Therapy, journaling, meditation, honest conversations with men you trust. Whatever develops your ability to be present with your own difficult emotions without being consumed by them, that development is directly, immediately, specifically attractive. Principle 3. And this one is about the moments she notices that you don't know she's noticing. How do you treat the waiter when the service is slow? How do you talk about people who aren't in the room? How do you respond to someone who needs something from you when giving it costs you something? How do you behave in the gaps between conversations when you think the performance can rest? This is called integrity in the unobserved moment, and it is one of the most powerful signals in the entire landscape of male attraction. Because what a man does when he thinks no one important is watching reveals his actual character rather than his performed character. And women, particularly women who have been in relationships with men who turned out to be different from the image they presented are extraordinarily alert to the gap between those two things. A man who is kind to the waiter when the service is late and she's watching, but subtly dismissive to someone who can't do anything for him, she sees that. A man who speaks with genuine respect about people who aren't present, she notices. A man who helps someone without making it into a moment, she feels that. These unobserved moments are actually the most observed moments because they are the moments when the performance has relaxed and the actual person is visible. The practical implication is simple but demanding. Be the same person in every room, not because you're performing consistency, but because you have built enough internal coherence that consistency is no longer something you have to maintain. It simply is. That kind of coherence is visible, and it is deeply, foundationally attractive to any woman who has the emotional intelligence to recognize what she's seeing. Principle 4. Have a direction that exists independently of her. This is the principle that separates men who are interesting to women from men who become gradually invisible in relationships, and it is one of the most consistently misunderstood aspects of male attraction. Women are not attracted to men who make them the center of their world. I know that sounds counterintuitive. I know it contradicts what a lot of men believe about what women want, but hear the psychology of it. When a man has made a woman his primary source of purpose, his main project, the organizing principle of his daily emotional life, she feels it. And what she feels is not flattered. What she feels is the weight of being someone's entire world, the subtle but relentless pressure of being responsible for his aliveness, the way his mood is contingent on her mood, the way his engagement with life dims in her absence and intensifies in her presence, the way he has no compelling direction pulling on him when she isn't providing the direction. That dynamic, a man whose life is organized around her, is not attractive. It is suffocating. It creates the specific feeling that makes women describe a relationship as too much or too intense or like he needs me too much. Compare it to this. A man who has something he is building, work that genuinely absorbs him, a craft he is developing, a physical practice that demands his consistency, friends whose company he actively seeks, goals that have nothing to do with any particular woman. That man has a gravitational center that is his own, and a woman in his life occupies a real and chosen position, not the position of being the only thing that gives him a reason to exist. That difference is everything. A man who is full, genuinely full, not perform fullness, is attractive in a way that a man who is empty and waiting never is. Because choosing someone full is an act of desire. Being chosen by someone empty is an act of rescue, and rescue and desire are not the same thing. 4 principles down, 4 to go. The next 4 get into the most specific and least discussed territory, including Principle 7, which is the one that almost no one talks about and that changes the entire dynamic of how she sees you. Subscribe if you haven't. Drop a comment telling me which of the first 4 resonates most, and let's keep going. Principle 5. Kindness without transaction. I want to address something directly here because there is a specific pattern that affects good men, genuinely well-meaning men, more than almost anything else we've discussed. It is called the nice guy trap, and it is not about being too kind. It is about what the kindness is doing underneath. When kindness is deployed as a currency, when every generous act carries a quiet, unspoken expectation of reciprocity, when being good to her is fundamentally a strategy to earn her affection, the kindness stops being kindness. It becomes a negotiation, and women feel the negotiation even when they cannot name it. It produces a specific kind of discomfort, a sense of debt, a subtle pressure, the feeling that the generosity comes with conditions that haven't been stated but definitely exist. This is why the Nice guy, the man who does everything right, who is thoughtful and generous and consistently available, is often confused and hurt by the fact that his kindness doesn't produce the attraction he expected. He did the work, he gave the effort. Why didn't the return arrive? Because transactional kindness is not the same as genuine care. Genuine care has no receipt attached. It does not calculate. It does not quietly wait for the balance to be settled. It gives because giving is an expression of who the man is, not because giving is a means to what he wants. A man who has genuinely exited the transaction model of kindness is extraordinarily rare and immediately recognizable. His generosity feels free. There is no subtle weight in it, no accumulated ledger, no quietly growing expectation. He gives, and it is complete in itself. That quality of genuine, unconditional care, care that asks for nothing in return, is one of the most powerful things a woman can experience from a man, and it produces, without any strategy or intention, exactly the kind of warmth and genuine affection that the transactional approach was always trying to manufacture. Principle 6. Let her see you fail and recover. This one goes against everything most men believe about what they should present to a woman they're attracted to. The impulse is to be impressive, to show the best version, to hide the struggles, to present the polished surface, and keep the unfinished parts out of sight. But here is what the psychology actually shows. Women are not primarily attracted to perfection. They are attracted to authentic humanity navigated with self-awareness and grace. And there is almost nothing more humanizing or more attractive than watching a man encounter difficulty and handle it with genuine equanimity. This is called the recovery principle. It means that how you respond to your own failures and limitations reveals more about your actual character than your successes ever could. A man who can acknowledge that he got something wrong without collapsing in shame, without over-defending, without making the mistake mean something catastrophic about himself, is demonstrating a quality that is genuinely rare, a secure relationship with his own imperfection. That security is attractive at a deep level because it signals that a relationship with this man will not require walking on eggshells around his ego, that he can hear difficult things, that he can be wrong without becoming someone else, that there is a stable foundation underneath the human variation of his good days and bad days. Let her see the real range of you, not as a performance of vulnerability, as a natural consequence of being genuinely present rather than perpetually curated. A man who is real in all of what real means is more compelling than any carefully managed image. Because images can be admired from a distance, real people can be loved. Principle 7. And this is the one almost no one is talking about. Develop genuine curiosity about her interior world, not about her surface, not about the things she presents, her looks, her style, the curated version of herself that exists in social spaces, her interior world, her actual ideas, the way she makes sense of things, what she finds beautiful and why, what she's afraid of and how she navigates it, what her past has made her, what she is still figuring out. Most men are attracted to the surface of a woman and slightly, subtly uninterested in the depth. The depth is too complex, too time-consuming, too much to manage when the surface is already compelling, and women know this. They have extensive, lifelong experience of being engaged at the surface level while their interior world remains essentially unexplored by the men who claim to care about them. When a man genuinely, specifically, persistently engages with a woman's interior world, when his curiosity goes past what she looks like and what she can give him, and into who she actually is and how she actually thinks, something happens that is difficult to describe and impossible to fake. She feels seen, not seen as an attractive person, seen as a specific person, as the particular, irreplaceable individual she actually is. That feeling of being genuinely, specifically seen creates an attachment that surface level attraction cannot approach, because surface attraction is something she has experienced many times. Being genuinely seen may be something she has experienced rarely. And the man who provides that experience becomes associated with something she didn't know she was looking for. Ask better questions. Listen past the first answer. Follow the thread of what she is actually saying rather than waiting for a gap to return to yourself. Be more interested in her than you are in being impressive to her. That reorientation from performance to genuine curiosity is one of the most powerful shifts available to you, and it costs nothing except the willingness to actually pay attention. Principle 8, the last one, and the one that makes all 7 of the others possible. Stop waiting for her permission to become the man you are capable of being. This is the principle that underlies everything we've discussed today, because every other principle requires this one as its foundation. The man who has exited the approval trap, who has developed emotional regulation, who lives with integrity in unobserved moments, who has direction, who gives without transaction, who can fail and recover, who is genuinely curious about the people he cares about, that man did not become those things by waiting for someone to tell him it was time. He decided, not in a single dramatic moment, in accumulation, in the thousands of small decisions that build a person over time. The decision to do the work even when no one is watching. The decision to keep the standard even when lowering it would be easier. The decision to be honest when dishonesty would be more comfortable. The decision to grow in the direction of the man he knows he is capable of being, regardless of whether any particular woman is watching, approving, or rewarding the growth. This is called self-actualization, and it is the most attractive thing that exists in female psychology. Not because it was built to be attractive, but because a man who is genuinely in the process of becoming his fullest self carries a quality of aliveness that is unmistakable. He is not static, he is not waiting, he is not performing for an audience, he is moving, and there is something in the movement of a man toward his own best version that every woman who is paying attention can feel. You do not need permission. Not from her, not from circumstances, not from the version of yourself that is still waiting for conditions to improve before the real becoming begins. The becoming is available right now, in this moment, with whatever you currently have. The man who understands this stops asking how to attract women. He starts asking how to build the man he knows he should be, and then he builds him. One consistent, unglamorous, private decision at a time. That man is already inside you. He has been waiting, not for better circumstances, but for you to stop looking outside yourself for the permission that only you can give. 8 principles. Let me bring the full picture together. Stop needing her approval to feel whole, because a man who is home within himself doesn't need her to make him feel like he belongs. Develop emotional regulation, not suppression, regulation, because the man who can be present with his own difficulty without being consumed by it creates safety that cannot be faked. Live with integrity in unobserved moments, because what you do when no one important is watching is what you actually are. Have a direction that exists independently of her, because a man who is full is chosen out of desire, not rescued out of obligation. Give without transaction, because genuine care that carries no receipt is one of the rarest things she will ever experience from a man. Let her see you fail and recover, because real humanity navigated with grace is more compelling than any curated performance. Develop genuine curiosity about her interior world, because being seen as a specific person is something most women have never fully experienced. and stop waiting for permission, because the man you are capable of becoming does not require her approval to begin. These 8 principles are not a checklist to complete. They are a direction to move in, consistently, imperfectly, genuinely. And as you move in that direction, as you become more fully the man you are already capable of being, something happens that no tactic, no strategy, no combination of external improvements could ever produce. The right people start feeling the frequency you're carrying. Not all people, the right ones. The ones who have the depth to recognize what they're seeing. The ones whose own growth has brought them to a place where they can feel the difference between performance and presence, between surface and substance, between a man who is hunting for something and a man who has become something. That is the version of attraction worth building toward, not the kind that is won in a moment, the kind that deepens over time, the kind that is founded on something real, the kind that, once it exists, does not require maintenance because it is not a performance being held together by effort. It is two people who found each other because they had both become, each in their own way, the fullest version of themselves. You are already on that path. This video is just a reminder of the direction. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these 8 principles is the one you need to do the most work on right now? Not the one that sounds most interesting, the one that, if you're honest with yourself, is the most underdeveloped, the one that you recognize as the gap between who you currently are and who you know you're capable of being. Drop it in the comments, honestly. No performance, no polished answer, the real one. This community is built on genuine conversation, and I read every comment. If this gave you something today, if something in here shifted how you're thinking about yourself and what you're building, share it with someone who needs to hear it. That is how Mystique Psychology grows and reaches the people it's meant for. Subscribe if you haven't. New content every week. And I'll see you in the next one. I'm Lyra. This is Mystique Psychology. Take care of yourselves.